Hi, so we're going to start with a question. How often do you eat out? Every day? 2 to 3 times a week? Once a week? 2 to 3 times a month? Or never? Wow, 2 to 3 times a week. So today I'm going to be focusing on sodium and fluids, and I actually already got some questions outside, so I hope I answer your questions today. Oop, I'm sorry. There we go. All right. So I need to advance. All right, thank you. So when I talk about sodium, most people think of the salt shaker right away. And while the salt shaker does provide sodium, it is not the only source of sodium. Sodium is a nutrient in our body and in the body of every living thing. And sodium is important because it pools fluids and it keeps fluids in the right place. But because all foods contain sodium in them, we have to account for that when we're watching the sodium in our diet. The recommended intake for sodium is 2 to 3 grams for heart failure. And just as a way of comparison, the average American diet is anywhere from 8 to 12 grams. Table salt does provide sodium, as I mentioned. It provides about 40% sodium, and it doesn't matter whether it's table salt or sea salt or onion salt or garlic salt. All of them are going to be giving you about 40% sodium. So the most significant contributor to sodium in the diet is processed foods. That's canned soups, canned vegetables, cured meats like ham, bacon, sausage, salami, bologna. Cheeses, especially your dry cheeses, are a significant contributor. Ready-made prepared foods such as boxed macaroni and cheese or boxed potatoes au gratin, and then things with visible salt on them like crackers, breads, and snack foods. So if you're suffering from heart failure, you're probably going to hear that you should be on a 2-gram sodium diet. And what that means is eating all fresh foods, fresh meats, fresh or fresh frozen vegetables, staying away from the canned products. If you're on a 3 to 4 gram sodium diet restriction, which is what the American Heart Association recommends for everybody, but also some of you, that means that you can use up to a 1/4 teaspoon of salt either in cooking or at the table. As I mentioned earlier, fresh meats, meaning not processed or cured, fresh or fresh frozen vegetables, and when I say salt-free, I mean no salt on top, not sodium-free breads and crackers. Dried spices, such as herbs, are acceptable in fresh or dried form, but some of the spice mixes, like Tony Chachere's is really popular around here, would be something that you would want to stay away from, although now they do put out a low sodium, so that you may have. So for fluid recommendations, the general guideline is 1 to 2 liters per day, or 4 to 8 cups. But when I say fluid, I don't just mean water. I also mean coffee, tea, juice, ice cream, Jell-O, anything that's liquid at room temperature. So a little rule of thumb that you can use is that meals should have someplace in the neighborhood of 500 to 750 milligrams of sodium in them. And that's where label reading comes in. When you look at your ready prepared foods, I know not everybody's a chef. And snacks should have 250 milligrams of sodium. But this isn't a hard and fast rule. So if you're eating more sodium for one meal, then you just have less for another. The key to this is moderation. So when you're preparing your foods, you want to make sure that you read your food labels, look at what portion sizes they're recommending for the foods, because you might consider 2 servings a serving for yourself, and that would also account for doubling the sodium. Once you've identified foods or brands of foods that work for you, you can stick with those so you don't have to keep reading food labels. When you're eating out, don't be afraid to ask for no salt to be added in the cooking process. Restaurants are very accommodating and are willing to prepare foods to meet your needs. When you do order foods, try and avoid sauces and gravies because they tend to have a lot more sodium in them than the meats and the vegetables themselves. And also watch out for the bread basket. Those breadsticks with the sesame seeds will inevitably have granules of salt on them as well. And you even have to watch out for your desserts now. The salted caramel really does have salt on it. So in summary, limit your sodium and fluids and that'll help keep your heart failure under control. Avoid the salt shaker as much as you can. Fluids come in all foods as well as beverages. And no food is off the table if you choose wisely and monitor your portion sizes. Thank you very much.
So I was just going to talk to you guys a little bit about, Linda did a good job talking about the sodium portion of a heart-healthy diet, and especially whenever we're looking at heart failure. I was going to talk a little bit just about an overall heart-healthy diet, because it's not just about the sodium. That's one of the main things that we do want you to watch, but we want you to keep your heart as healthy as possible all the way around. So if we can get those slides back up, that would be excellent. I don't think I have the power to do that. There we go. Perfect. So like I said, Linda did a good job talking about one of the first keys is to halt the salt. We really want to watch where the sodium's coming from. So we want you to be hearty. Eat lean protein. We want you to focus especially on lean chicken, fish. Lean pork and beef is going to be okay, but it very much depends on the cut that you're doing, which we're going to talk about in just one second. We want you to add fiber. So many of our population is not getting the fiber we need, so we really want to try to add some of that fiber back in. A good way to do that is by increasing those fruits and vegetables in your diet. If they're fresh or frozen, they have no sodium, so we definitely want to increase the fruits and vegetables. Think about the types of fat that you're using. We want you to use more plant-based fats like olive oil as opposed to butter. And then say yes to the planning. It's hard if you run out the door on a Monday morning and you don't know what you're going to eat and you have to go out to eat. If the planning element isn't there, it does make it very hard to eat a heart-healthy diet. So I just want you guys to think about planning a little bit ahead of time. Having those fruits and vegetables cut up and ready to go, having your meal plan ready is going to make a big difference and make all of this more attainable during the week. So like we said, focusing on those lean proteins, skinless poultry, fish, especially those fatty fish like salmon, tuna, herring, they're very high in omega-3 fatty acids, which we know are very healthy for your heart. And then consider only the very leanest cuts of the beef and the pork. So a loin, like a pork tenderloin or a beef sirloin are going to be considered very lean. Also, consider having more plant-based proteins as well. We want you to incorporate more beans and legumes into your diet, more nuts and seeds as well, and try the concept of meatless Mondays. So I don't know how many of you have heard of that. So try replacing one day a week where you don't have any of the chicken or the beef or the pork, and you focus more on having the beans and legumes. Whenever we started doing meatless Mondays at my house, I had to tell my husband that didn't mean cheese pizza and ice cream. Those things are, of course, meatless, but we really want to focus on getting those healthy beans and legumes and lentils in. So really try to incorporate more plant-based proteins into your diet as well that are very heart healthy. For fiber, most Americans only get about 10 to 12 grams of fiber per day, but in actuality, we need 25 to 30 grams of fiber to positively impact our heart health. So one of the reasons, like we said before, is fill that gap with the beans and legumes. Just half a cup have about 8 grams of fiber in them. Switch to whole grains. So instead of the white bread, the white rice, the white pasta, we want you to make that shift over to more whole grains where we're doing whole wheat bread, whole wheat pasta, brown rice. The key is to see the word whole on the label. Multi-grain doesn't cut it because that does not necessarily mean it's a whole grain. So you want to see the word whole grain or whole wheat on the foods that you're purchasing. And then obviously increase that fruit and vegetable intake. Fruits and vegetables have a lot of great fiber that we need. The key is, if you can, leave the peel on. So your apple peel, your potato peel, that's where the majority of the fiber is coming from. You don't have to leave your banana peel and your orange peel on. You could. You'd get a lot of fiber if you did, but you don't have to leave that one on. So really our emphasis, whenever you're looking at your plate, I want half of your plate to be vegetables, preferably the non-starchy vegetables. So fresh or frozen are going to be okay. The frozen ones, if they don't have any added sauce, don't have any added sodium. So even if a fruit or vegetable that you like isn't in season, go for the frozen variety of that. But we really want to think about half that plate being a vegetable and having some good, colorful fruit with that as well. The key is to eat a rainbow. So don't just eat a banana every day. The banana has some good things in it, but different vegetables and fruits have different phytochemicals and different antioxidants and things that are wonderful for you. So we want you to get that rainbow of colors of fruits and vegetables in. So get a variety of those fruits and vegetables in. Maybe try a fruit or vegetable that you haven't liked in the past. Reintroduce it, cook it a different way, and see if you like it in your diet. This just kind of gives you the summary from the American Heart Association whenever we're talking about the fats. It breaks it down for you in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and this is available on their website. So we want you to stick most of the fat of your fat intake. We want to be from plant-based monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. These are going to be from oils like canola oil, olive oil, avocados, nuts, fish. This is where the majority of the fat in your diet we want to come from. We do want you to try to avoid the saturated fats that are mainly animal-based. So high-fat beef, high-fat pork, chicken skin, butter, cheeses, even tropical oils for right now. That's a little bit controversial, but try to avoid those and eat more of the other plant-based fats. And then really try to stay away from those hydrogenated oils and trans fats. Luckily, this isn't going to be a problem for too much longer. The FDA has taken the trans fat off of the generally recognized as safe list, the GRAS list. So manufacturers won't be able to add any hydrogenated oils or trans fats to their products. The deadline is the summer of 2018. But until then, I want you to keep an eye out for those trans fats and avoid them. So whenever we're talking about a healthy diet, I want you to think about a healthy eating pattern. I know a lot of times we focus in on this food or that food. Is this good or that good? Think about a healthy eating pattern. And what research has shown us is that the Mediterranean diet really is one of the most heart-healthy eating patterns out there. So this is the Mediterranean diet pyramid. The basis of it and the vast majority of it is going to be fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. The Mediterraneans obviously eat a little bit of fish as well, being located where they're located. So really focus in, like we said, on the fish that are high in omega-3s. They have a little bit of poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt, and at the very top is the meats and the sweets. I think sometimes here in Texas, our food pyramid might be a little bit inverted, a little upside down. So just think about getting more of the fruits, vegetables, whole grains in. This should make up the majority of your diet. So the way I like to put it to people is if half your plate is supposed to be fruits and vegetables every day, half of your grocery cart has got to be fruits and vegetables too. We can't just sail through that produce section and pick up an apple and a banana and 1 bag of broccoli for the week. We really need to increase what we're purchasing and what we're cooking at home whenever it comes to the fruits and vegetables. So that's, like I said, think about it more as an eating pattern as opposed to picking out individual foods. We just want you to eat a healthy pattern that has lean proteins, fresh fruits and vegetables, and whole grains. All right.